Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I've got a video pulled up here from Jay Vale, and it is 5 freedoms you have in the UK that you don't have in the USA. And I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think this is actually an American that's doing this video. Um, I am not at all surprised that you guys have, frankly, nicer things than we do. Um, and I don't think a lot of Americans would actually be super surprised. Maybe some that vote in a way that I do not and voted for the current sitting president. I did not. Didn't vote for this guy. I promise you that. Didn't vote for a guy at all. But those people tend to have a very warped view. They watch news channels or they've hand-picked news channels that just kind of reiterate the things that they want to hear and believe as opposed to a lot of times the reality. And tend to believe things out of just con men's mouths, obviously. That's why we're in the pickle we're in now. They have very poor judges of character. They don't research things for themselves. Just like I would guess that probably one of the things in this video has to possibly do with healthcare. And that has been a lie or exploiting exaggerations of, what universal healthcare is, and they really kind of magnify the possible tiny bad parts of it, or having to wait. Well, we wait here too. Like I have to wait. I made an appointment last month for my son and I to go to a dentist, and we can't even get into August. It was going to take 3 months for my son to get in to see a new doctor here. It took me almost 3 months to get in to see a doctor when we moved here. But they just exaggerate these things, and they're also like trying to keep nurses from being able to get incentives to get loans and stuff to go to school. So they're even like here preventing future healthcare workers that we already desperately need. So there's so many things that these people believe that is just insane, and it's a lack of education, it's a lack of critical thinking, and it's just kind of listening to people that tell you things you want to hear, and you just believe whatever they say and don't want to research it or look into it all or actually ask somebody that deals with that real questions. And then you would argue with them. These people would argue with you about what is actually facts and available information. It's exhausting. It's so exhausting. I want to get out of here so bad. But let's go ahead and take a look at this video. Sorry, I went on a rant. But don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you disagree with me, if you're a Trump fan, this ain't the place for you, buddy. Just not the place. I am open to dialogue that is constructive. But I'm absolutely 100% tired of these people. I don't even talk to my own family members that are in this cult. So I'm not gonna talk to strangers about it. I'm not gonna argue with strangers. It's not worth it. You guys are not rooted in reality. But for my intelligent UK buddies, let's go ahead and check out this video and just see another reason why you guys are better than here.
When Americans think of the UK and freedom, they often focus on things it lacks, like air conditioning or 24-hour drive-thrus, or apparently the ability to post things on social media, according to certain political figures. However, because the UK has a slightly different legal philosophy, one that prioritizes collective rights and consumer safety
The way
over
it should be.
at-will flexibility, It so happens that there are several specific freedoms an American would enjoy in Britain that they don't have back in the good old US of A. That's right, you heard correctly. I know the
Those
Americans
pretty
are in
buildings.
disbelief, but there are actually freedoms that other countries have that you don't have in the USA.
Oh, is an IKEA
Also, some
downtown?
Americans may be surprised to learn that the UK
Ours are like
often
giant
scores around the same
warehouses,
and
just on
sometimes
the
above the
outskirts of
USA
areas.
for overall freedom, depending on what source you're looking at. I recommend Wikipedia, of course, very reliable. And before we begin, if you're new around here and you couldn't tell by my thick Jamaican accent, Bumbaclat. I'm an American who lives in the UK, and my style is these weird point of view walks and drives that I do while I just talk and talk about everything.
You will
Talking
watch
is
any of
something that
him?
us Americans are good at, sometimes at a very high volume as well. So I hope you enjoy that sort of thing. If you don't, well, too bad. Anywho, as of 2026, here are 5 freedoms that you get in the United Kingdom that you don't get in the United States of America. Number 1, the freedom to roam. And no, I'm not saying the freedom to go to Rome,
I
I'm
was thinking
saying
about
the
this
freedom
today,
to
actually.
roam. In much of the US, private land is strictly no trespassing, and wandering across the field can lead to legal trouble, or worse, you could get shot, which has happened many times. In fact, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head, one of the members of Lynyrd Skynyrd, who was in a plane crash, actually survived the crash only to get shot by a farmer for being on
I
his
didn't know
property.
that,
Welcome to
but
the USA.
oh, okay.
So, in the United Kingdom, under the Countryside and Rights of Way Act, and even more extensively in Scotland's Right to Roam, way to go, Scotland, the public has a legal right to access a vast tract of privately owned mountains, trails, and other places for recreation. As long as you aren't damaging crops or disturbing livestock, you are free to hike across a billionaire's estate without being a criminal. Try doing that same thing on any ranch in the United States, and it may be the last time that you see daylight. Some
Yeah, this I was thinking about this earlier, and my perspective is a little different. Although I did grow up in a very, I guess, technically conservative area in West Virginia. West Virginia tends to be a red state, even though they had a Democrat representing them. He was not. He was a Democrat in name only. Really, most of the people running West Virginia are doing the same thing that the current president is, and they just pocket money, pocket money, pocket money. Um, just legal bribes basically here because it's Citizens United. But I grew up in like a city in West Virginia, so yeah, there were farms and stuff outside of it. But like as a kid, I lived in a brick duplex. And we had our landlord lived next to us in a house, and then we had on the other side of us there was like a 4 apartment building. So there were 2 apartments upstairs, 2 apartments downstairs, and I knew I went to kindergarten with one of the people that lived there's daughters. So I spent a lot of time over there as a kid. And I even remember, being able to go up the front apartment steps, climb over the stone banister and onto their balcony, and just being able to knock on their like sliding glass door, or even just go in. Sometimes I was in kindergarten, um, but I a lot of times we would climb the fences, we'd go from backyard to backyard to backyard and run all over the place. And one, West Virginia is a very different place now than it was when I was a kid. Drugs are extremely, extremely bad. There are needles everywhere that you have to be very careful with. But even if that was not the case, and I lived in that area still today, I would not allow my son to do that, just because they're crazy, crazy people. And they will just bring a gun out, and it doesn't matter if you're a kid. They'll bring a gun outside because they're lunatics. And it's so funny because usually these are the same exact people that are like, I want things to be like it was in the 50s. And, but not that part. They still want to be able to shoot you. Um, so, and that's coming from, somebody that is white. So, if I was a person of color, I mean, there's a whole other set of rules, to be honest with you. And it's very sad that it is that way. But as a kid, and I'd say my mom had the same upbringing, probably more freedom when she was young, as far as being able to. I mean, I think they lived in a neighborhood. There were a ton of kids. They would be on the street. They'd be at each other's houses. They'd be in backyards, but everybody kind of knew each other. Now, I don't even know that matters, because if there's some crazy MAGA old man or Karen somewhere, like they don't care. Like, they don't care that you're a child. They don't care. I mean, it's crazy. It is straight up crazy. I wouldn't let my son go around here doing that. Now, where we lived previously in around Charlotte and Waxhaw, the neighborhood was run with kids going all over to each other's houses, and they would go to each other's backyards and stuff like that. But I think the parents were very vigilant. They knew that their kids were outside playing, and who they were playing with, so that it wasn't as big an issue. I would say there. And you also had a lot of people that were coming from larger cities. Like, most of our neighbors were from Chicago, New Jersey, and New York, Orlando, and they had come there because they wanted that family community. They wanted the kids to be able to play ball in the streets and stuff like that. So, those little pockets do exist. But you never know who's a nut. You just don't.
Americans can be very much so a my rights, my property, stay away type of people.
Yep.
And I'll just say what everyone's thinking. Yes, it is a very selfish mindset.
Yep.
All right, number 2, freedom from at-will employment. So in the United States, most Americans live in what are called at-will states, where you can be fired at any moment for almost any reason, or no reason at all, with zero notice. I have actually seen this happen to people as well. In the UK, it's very different. Once you've passed your probationary period, which usually is around 6 months, depending on the company. I worked at a place where the probation was only 3 months. But anyways, when you pass the probationary period, you then have the right to fair dismissal. An employer cannot simply fire you because they had a bad day. They must follow a strict legal.
Because they give you the benefit of the doubt. They don't do that here because, again, these politicians take money from these businesses and these corporations, and they give them the rights over the people, and they actually get other people on that side to go along with it, because they tend to be racist. They tend to be prejudiced against people that are poor, even if they're poor. And that's what's wild about it. There'll be I literally know somebody that is on disability, and has been for as long as I can remember, that literally votes on the side of the people that are consistently taking money, taking rights away from other disabled people, because they keep claiming fraud and that people are stealing from it, which is a very, very tiny percentage. Like, most people, I think, on the left side believe that, like, yeah, that stuff's gonna happen. and you want to limit it, obviously, and try to weed it out. But like, why would you punish an entire huge group of people um, for these little tiny outliers, right? Um, but they like make it seem so exceptional, and that it's rampant with fraud and stuff like that, and people go along with it. They would rather give up these rights that they have and their own like ability to hold down a job and not be fired for no reason, if it means that's, maybe a female, or maybe somebody they claim now is DEI, which is just a cover for racism. Not DI itself. DEI is good, but these people think that it's just racism. Their thoughts on it. It's just, it's it's wild, yo. It's so hard to wrap your head around this. So that's like the stuff that keeps me up at night. That these people exist.
Misconduct, and give you a formal notice period. In other words, in the United Kingdom, your employer must
treat you giving like people the benefit of the doubt,
which means in the UK
and treat them like a human being.
To be treated like a human being when you're at work, as well as the freedom to not be unemployed without any reason. If you've watched my short videos, I actually speak quite a bit about US employment versus UK employment, because personally I feel like the US in general has a very poor culture around work. I was just speaking to an American the other day at an IT event.
And it's getting worse.
And working in IT in the UK versus working in IT in the United States is like working a normal job versus slavery. But I'll save that whole conversation for another time. Let's move on.
I don't know if you all have that there, but there are literally these companies like Amazon that have people running it that make billions of dollars, or worth billions of dollars. And they use these loopholes that they have legally bribed politicians for, to pay their employees less, right? So that then these employees have to rely on the government to have health care, a lot of times get food stamps, while they're working full-time jobs, 40 plus hours a week, because these companies refuse to pay people enough, even though they're just raking in money with their mega yachts and their Met galas and their wives that have brand new friggin' Joker faces. They can't pay people a living wage anymore. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Number
crazy,
3,
crazy.
Stronger personal data autonomy. This is one that I think would surprise some Americans. While the US has a patchwork of state laws, the UK operates under a rigorous version of the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, which is something the European Union has as well, and it's something I'm very grateful for.
Most of this should be common sense.
Basically, to the Americans watching, in the UK, you have the freedom to be forgotten. You can legally compel a company to delete all the data they have on you. You also have the right to a subject access request, where any organization, from your employer to a tech giant like Facebook, must provide you with a copy of every piece of information they store about you, usually for free as well. You do not have these same rights in the United States, and instead sometimes it feels like the opposite, like big companies have the freedom to take your data and do what they want with it. But if a company breaks GDPR in the United Kingdom, the fines are enormous.
Want you to pay to store
I'm talking in the millions, if not hundreds of millions. And it has happened. And those companies have had to pay up. So ironically, if you want more freedom around your personal data, you would be better off in the UK than the US. Alright, time for number 4. Statutory freedom to arrest. which means paid leave. That's just a fancy way of wording it. So in the US, as many of you already know, paid vacation is an optional perk, not a right. There is no federal law requiring employers to give a single day of paid time off. It is completely up to the company. Now, I will say, even though the federal government's not doing anything to change that, there are some US states that are. For example, the state of Colorado has changed its laws so that there is a minimum requirement of paid time off that jobs have to give you. Colorado is a weird
state.
But
it's
not
got
much.
like a lot of liberal
but it's still
policies,
worth celebrating
but they also have like a lot. It's weird.
In the right direction. So obviously it's very different in the UK, and going back to the employment thing, you could say that you have the right to not be a slave in the UK. Because in the United Kingdom, every full-time worker has a legal right to 28 days of paid annual leave, or 5.6 weeks.
That's awesome.
This isn't something you earn over the
here,
years of service.
Vacation,
it is
they
a
try to
baseline freedom from work that applies from the first day on the job. In the UK, rest is treated as a health and safety requirement, not a bonus. And I must say, I am very grateful to have the paid leave that I have in the UK. And I will also add on top of that there are many jobs in the UK that give you more than the minimum, including the job that I currently work at. And lastly, number 5, protection from what's called drip pricing and hidden fees. The US is famous for what's called sticker shock, where a $20 meal becomes $30 after tax and tip, or a hotel room adds resort fees at checkout. Anyone who has ever visited the United States has seen this, the fact that nothing seems to cost what it says it does.
No.
Many Americans don't realize that this is a problem because it's all they know. This is very different in the United Kingdom. Under the Digital Markets, Competition and Consumer Act of 2024, which, by the way, recently saw some major enforcements in the last 2 years, drip pricing is largely prohibited. In other words, the price you see on the shelf or the initial search result must include all mandatory taxes, VAT, and fees. You have the freedom from surprises. The advertised price is almost always the final price you pay. I'm pretty sure that the UK recently cracked down on this on the delivery.
That's one of the reasons I think, especially here, people do a lot more online shopping, which it's unfortunate in itself that, and that's killing small businesses. But like, at least if you do it online, you see what the final price is, and you have to agree to it before you purchase it, right? That way you at least know what everything is. One thing that I like, about Airbnb, there's a lot of bad about it, but like, is that when you go on to do a booking or something like that, like you can set it to where like, when you see the price when on the listings, that is the price. Like, that's what it is. It's not going to change when you go to check out. And I think that it would be so beneficial if more businesses did that. And there are ways to implement it. We ran a store in Charlotte, around Charlotte, for a long time, and there are ways that you can do that. You can implement it into the price, and pay your taxes. I think a lot of people just don't want to go to the trouble, to be honest with you, or do the maths themselves because they're lazy.
Delivery services. They used to give you a price before checkout, and then when you checked out, it would add all the fees on, giving you the total price. Now, at least for me, when I go on the Deliveroo app, it tells me what the final cost is after everything before I've even checked out. And I think this is very important because people should have a freedom to know the cost of what they're buying
Right.
before they commit to anything. People should not be fooled into thinking something is cheaper than it really is, a trick that airlines often do. And so I'm grateful that the UK, although some improvements are still needed, at least has some freedom from these things, unlike the United States. So there you have it. 5 freedoms that you have in the United Kingdom that you don't have in the United States. And I know somebody's going to say it, so I'm going to say it, and I'm going to cover every type of shooting when I say this. Yes, in the United Kingdom, for the most part, you have the freedom to not get shot. Thank you.
Your kids have the opportunity to go to school and not have to do shooter drills and hide under their desks because, I don't know, we need to give the president a ballroom because he keeps allegedly getting shot at, and so we need to do something for this terrible, terrible old man, and do nothing for young children, right? It just, and none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. I went on a whole tangent about like healthcare at the beginning, and they didn't even mention. Sorry. No, I honestly, I think a lot of you guys, uh, you guys are awesome. I mean, every once in a while, I do read the comments. Not, you know, if you go back to an old video and comment on, there's a small chance that I'm gonna see it. Every once in a while, it will pop up like in the community or something, but usually it's more recent videos that I try to do the comments on because those are just what pops up for me. And like I said, for the most part, you guys are awesome. You're encouraging and you're kind, and you genuinely want to help me learn more about the UK, and I appreciate you guys so much. Even on Patreon, you know, if you haven't done so, go subscribe. But like, you guys can send me DMs. There's a couple people on there that do. There's one guy in particular, Kev, that has sent me boxes before of British snacks that I've tried on here. And I mean, we were messaging each other all day the other day, and we were just talking about like differences of weather and stuff like that, and shows. Um, but you guys are really just like so kind, and but every once in a while I do get some messages, and I don't know whether it is from somebody in the UK or somewhere else in Europe, or if they're in the US. A lot of times I think they might be US, but that push back on anything on Trump, and don't talk about, like, it's my channel, like, don't watch. you know uh it's not something I talk about all the time, but here and there, it is a large part of our lives right now. To for these people that are like saying, "Oh, don't talk about politics," like, it's it affects me every single day. There's something insane or asinine going on. Um, but you just get it. Like, I feel like you guys have already been through all of this, like, insane religious stuff. You've gone through terrible kings and regimes, and for the most part, you guys have come out on the other side of it. I know a lot of you say, like, with over there, I think I commented on one of the videos before that, like, we had an idiot running the country, and a lot of you were like, "Yo, we do too here." Um, but I've also seen a lot of UK people that are like, it doesn't even matter really who you vote for because nothing really changes here. Whereas, like, here it does. We've seen an unprecedented amount of things that the right now they're just doing stuff, and it just takes a while for the courts to catch up and rectify it, and that's kind of what we're dealing with right now, and it's led to people dying, getting deported to countries they're not from or have never scene. They don't know anybody, and it's a lot of cruelty for no reason. And I don't understand these people that are backing it, and then go to church on Sunday, and then come out and you know scream at women and people of color, and um, say F the school kids that are getting, you know, killed at school. We need a ballroom. We need a ballroom. It's just like, it's crazy, y'all. Like, it makes my brain want to explode. It really does. Just the hypocrisy, the ignorance, the lack of self awareness. Um, and I'm, a scatterbrain, so it's like all of it's just like all jumbled everywhere, and it's a lot of gaslighting, to be honest with you. It's crazy. But I do generally put you guys in a much higher um, category than Americans, or at least half of Americans. Um, I think a lot of you get it, and maybe it's because you're watching it from the outside. I feel like I'm watching it from the outside at times, and then I go out and there's somebody in a red hat, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm here. It's directly right here. Um, but I would move over there in a heartbeat if there was a way to do it. To be honest with you, and I had the money to make it happen. Um, hey man, if any of y'all run a nice business and want to hire me, send me an email. Let me take a look at that. But yeah, I like the video. He did bring up some points that I definitely wasn't aware of. Uh, some of them, obviously, I was familiar with, and it drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. And the fact that so many Americans are like, "This is the best country." It's not. It's really not. It's really, really, really not. It's not. It's a mess. Um, but yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. Just you all are fantastic, and I can't say enough good things about you. I really love all of my subscribers and all of you guys that support the channel, even just by watching the videos and hitting the like button or commenting. Um, yeah, you guys are a pleasure. You guys are a pleasure to deal with. And I appreciate y'all watching and sticking around for my rant. And yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome, awesome day in your wonderful, beautiful country. Have a good one, guys.